Hey, what's up? It's the Political Brown Kid here, and it's NCAA tournament season time. So I just had to make this video. I've kind of already talked about the subject before. It's just in regards to pay inequality, specifically when it revolves around basketball. They're talking women's sports in general, but this is particularly I'm going to focus on basketball because there are some sports where I can honestly see pay equality, and then there are some other sports where it's just not realistic for anyone that is supporting that option that people in the WNBA should be getting paid on the same level as, or even the NCAA tournament, the females NCAA, the females basketball tournament should be getting paid as much as the guys. Now, college basketball is going to be something different, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because, of course, Ice Cube has made an offer to Caitlyn Clark to play in the Big Three League. Now, I kind of understand why he's doing it. I hope he's not doing this just to be a feminist, um, because I don't think that that's the right reason to do it for. And I think that that's what I heard him say. And I find that very unfortunate that a person such as Ice Cube would take that particular position, because what he said was he offered her $5 million to play in the Big Three because he wanted to see, I guess, a woman get paid, justly paid or something. It's not about being. We'll talk about the whole justly paid, because when you talk about these particular type of words, everything is subjective and everything is not just universally covered. So before I go into that, let me just kind of break something down. We're just going to first talk about NBA versus WNBA. And I just kind of want to give y'all some information just to consume and think about. The NBA has been around since what, the 1940s, 30s? I don't know when the NBA came about. You have to understand, things take time. Things are baby steps. And that's the unfortunate part about today's world and today's generation, is that everyone wants instant gratification. I'm 45, so if people who are in my age range, you'll understand this. I remember the time when you had to use dial up in order to connect to the internet. Most people don't even know what a modem is or dial up is. And sometimes a web page could take 20 seconds. I mean, not 20 seconds. It could take a minute, 30, a minute to 2 minutes to load up. And you waited patiently. And that's why they also say that time is, time is kind of, it's subjective too. Because, well, there was a whole thing, and I forgot what movie it was. It was like if you touch a hot stove, that 1 second of touching that hot stove seems like an hour, because it burns and it hurts, the pain. But if you get your hands on a hot girl, that 1 hour may feel like 1 second. Sometimes that's how things work. If you're watching your favorite television show, sometimes it goes by so fast. But if you're watching something that's boring, it takes a long time to go. Time is subjective. So today's people aren't willing to wait, because we were patient. We understood sometimes that the internet took a minute, 2 minutes to load up. Now, if a website doesn't load up within 2 seconds, you're done with that website and you go to another site. So people need to be patient. And the WNBA players, unfortunately for them, they were just born way too soon. People don't understand this. Dawn Staley was probably one of the greatest, in my personal opinion. Her and Reggie Miller's sister, Cheryl Miller, they were two of the greatest players to play women's basketball. That's just my personal opinion. Dawn Staley was a floor general out there. But she came about, the WNBA wasn't even created. I think she did eventually join, because it got created, I think, a few years after she left college, and she eventually joined the league. So sometimes those initial players are going to be the torch bearers. They're not going to get the credit and accolades and the financial rewards that the other people get. And I said this comment before too. When you look at the birth of hip hop, those original creators of hip hop, Grandmaster Cash, when you look at Kool Herc, when you look at even Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel, Furious Five, and all those people that originally came into hip hop, they don't get paid like people that get paid today. And the people that get paid today aren't even half as good. So let me just give these numbers. So I just kind of want to give you that background. Now, the numbers that I'm going to give you too, they don't have anything to do with TV deals, merchandise sales, sponsorships, and so forth. I'm just going off strictly other numbers. But we all know that TV deals, merchandise, sponsorships, etc., the NBA crushes the WNBA in all of those categories. I don't have those numbers. I'm not going to sit up here and do the time to do the research on those numbers. But the stats that I do have is this. There are 30 NBA teams. There are 30 men's basketball teams in the National Basketball Association. There are 12 WNBA teams. Now, you have to ask yourself, too, why aren't there more teams? I don't know the specifics of that. I don't know whether it's because, other cities aren't willing to, fund a team and, or whether the commission, the WNBA commissioner and them aren't ready to accept new teams as of yet. We don't know this information of why there's only 12 as opposed to the NBA having 30. But you have to understand too, remember when NBA started out, there was the ABA, I think it was the ABA, and then there was the NBA. It was two different leagues, and then they merged. I think Dr. J played underneath the old ABA. So let's just give the edge. So the NBA has basically 18 more teams than the WNBA. The average ticket cost for an NBA game is $85 to $95. Now, the reason why I put that range is because online I really couldn't nail that down, but that's the numbers that consistently came back was $85 to $95. There's 82 games played in the NBA. And then the average attendance is 18,000 people. That's per night. That's 82 games a night. 18,000 people, 82 games at $85 to $95 per seat. And that's for 30 teams playing. When you look at the WNBA, 12 teams, the average ticket cost is $47. The average, the number of games that they play per season is 36. And then the average attendance is 6,000. So when you compare the attendance of 6,000 to 18,000, the NBA already has 3 times more people attending games. The ticket sales, $47 versus, let's just go with the low number of the NBA, $85. That's almost twice the amount of average ticket cost as the WNBA. And in the WNBA, you're playing 36 games as opposed to playing 82. You're already down 46 games. You play 46 fewer games. So if you look at the nightly earnings per stadium or per team, that nightly earnings for a game, if you're talking about one game, 18,000 people at $85 a seat, you're looking at $1.53 million, $1,530,000 per night. Per season, you're looking at $125,460,000 per night. That's for one franchise. And then when you add up the whole total earnings of the NBA, if you take those numbers and add that up amongst all of the teams, all of the games played per season, you're looking at $3,763,800,000. I mean, $3,763,800,000. When you look at the WNBA, their nightly earnings are only $282,000. The season earnings are $10,152,000. And then the total earnings for the whole league collectively is $121,824,000. So there's a huge discrepancy in those numbers. Now, mind you, those are just revenue. We haven't even talked about expenses. It costs money to turn the lights on in these places. You have to air condition. You have to regulate the temperature in these buildings, whether you're turning on the heat or the AC. You have to maintain the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC. You have to have vendors come in there. You have to do cleaning crews. You have to hire event staff. You have to do all of this stuff. And then in a lot of these events, you have either, halftime entertainment or intermission entertainment. You have a lot going on. You have security, parking lot. There's a lot going on. So we're not taking away from expenses, but this is why the WNBA loses money per year. So, and I think they were saying that $80,000 was what like the lowest person earns in the WNBA. That's very good money. You think about this. You make $80,000 to play basketball from probably, let's just say, I think the WNBA probably start around June and then they end around August. I think August, September. You make $80,000 to play basketball from June to August. That's great money. People don't look at, and then you have the rest of your life. Then what they do is once their league is over, then they go overseas and make more money. So my thing is that they should be looking at this to say, hey, it's a blessing. I make enough money to make a living. That's above the national average of earners in this country. And I'm not trying to say that they should be happy and settle for that. I wouldn't tell an IT professional or a doctor or a teacher to just be happy and settle for what you have. If you can strive to do more, if you have more potential, strive to do more. But I don't think that, but there's a difference between just acknowledging the facts and realities and then striving to do more as opposed to feeling entitled to have more. And this is what the NBA feels like the WNBA feels like when I hear the women players talking about pay equality, when they know that the NBA is supplementing their league. And if you don't know what supplementing means, that means revenue from the National Basketball Association is used to fund and keep the women's basketball league going because it's not making money. It has not been profitable since it started. So I just wanted to point this information out. And you're only playing basketball for 4 or 5 months. I find this very good. So, and if you're hating on $80,000, I feel sad for people that think that way. And I'm going to mention this too. I think that my personal opinion is I think that Caitlyn Clark should turn down Ice Cube's $5 million offer. That's just my personal opinion. This is why I'm going to bring up Deion Sanders and I'm going to bring up Jackie Robinson. And most of you will know where I'm going with this. When you start taking, when you look at the reason why black people can't get ahead, we had a Negro baseball league. And Jackie Robinson, and we had Satchel Paige, we had a lot of great players. And you had a lot of great basketball players. Once integration occurred, they left the Negro League to go play in the White League, and you haven't heard anything about the Negro League ever since. Most people don't even know a Negro League existed. When you look at Deion Sanders, he had the opportunity to put a black school, Jackson State, on the map, and he did. He had them on the map. Everybody was like, Deion's there. He brought his status, his celebrity, and then he brought his mindset, and he had them playing well. Now, again, if he stuck it out, everybody wants instant gratification. If he had stuck it out and said, look, my recruiting and my celebrity alone will bring in the players that I need. And maybe not this year, maybe not in 3 years, but in maybe 7, 8, or 9 or 10 years down the road, we will be a powerhouse because I'll get all of the great players to come to an HBCU and play, and I'll have an HBCU dominating the NCAA. He had that opportunity to do that, but he didn't want to take the time. I'm making this assumption. He didn't want to take the time to jump and wait for that moment 7 years down the road. He wanted to go where they had nice facilities already. They had nice stadiums. They had everything shiny. Everybody looks for the shiny toy. So I'm going to say this for Caitlyn Clark. If you abandon the WNBA, and even before I'm going to say this, let me just even back this train up. When you looked at the NBA, and most people even tell you this, the NBA, the National Basketball Association in the 80s was not a great league, or in the 70s, early 80s, it was not a great league. Stats as far as, viewership and likability. And guess what happened? There were two players that came out of college, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Both came out and they put the NBA back on the map. And it became a duel between Boston, LA, Bird, and Magic. And that sparked the interest in the NBA. Then once they faded out, you had Michael Jordan come in, rest is history. Kobe came behind him, Allen Iverson, and then you also have now you have LeBron James. So you have to have that one star. Everybody knows this. Even Shaq, I'm leaving out Shaq. Shaq came in too. So I'm saying that to say this. Who's the WNBA star right now? Who's the one that has, and when I say that, I'm not trying to minimize the players that currently play, because there are some great players that play in the league, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know their names. I know players' names, but I can't tell you that they have a big, huge star that's universally known. I only know my team's names. I know a few of the women's names on my team, but that's it. I don't know the other players' names. But if Caitlyn Clark goes to the WNBA, they know her name. Everyone in the country knows her name. I think it's another girl, Juju. Everyone knows her name. And if you get those two players coming into the league and they can become what Bird and Magic were to the NBA, and they can become that in the WNBA, now you have people watching. You have people saying, yeah, look, this is the rivalry. Now you can get the sponsorship coming in because everyone knows Caitlyn Clark's name. People know the name. So that's why I would highly encourage her to go to the NBA. She may not make, the WNBA. She may not make the money that Ice Cube offered her in the Big Three or that any other sport was going to do. But if she has to carry the torch, and, she may be, she may not get like I said, she may not make the money that she thinks she should make. But I think that there are players in the WNBA that make $200-something thousand, maybe even three or four. What's wrong with that salary? It's enough to live off of, especially if you're only playing from from June to August. What's wrong with that? Make the money and do something and become, carry the torch for the WNBA. The same way that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X carried the torch for Black people and for our rights. They didn't get the accolades that they wanted in life. They didn't even get to see where we're at now. The people that benefited from Malcolm and Martin, like if you look at it, Malcolm and Martin, they didn't have big houses. They didn't live a financially fruitful life. And a lot of people didn't even like them, to be honest with you. They got the accolades in their passing, unfortunately. And who benefited? You can look at Barack Obama benefited. You can look at Michelle Obama. You can look at Kamala Harris. You can look at, but it's always the ones that build something that really never benefit. And unfortunately for Caitlyn, that's probably going to be her position. And then she's also probably making a lot of money in the NIL right now. She's probably made her money in the NIL. And I'm not going to say she's made what because people always think they are owed more than what they actually are. But I'm pretty sure Caitlyn has made a good enough money in the NIL. She's made some money. And so that's why I would say this was my just thoughts on, this pay thing. Once again, I've talked about this before. There are other sports that you can probably say, yeah, if the financials are there, then yes, they are. Unfortunately, life is about biases. And like I said, not all biases are negative. There are good biases and bad biases. Some biases are just natural. You're going to have some people, they're going to gravitate towards Run DMC. And then some people are going to say, I don't care about Run DMC. But then as soon as the Beastie Boys come along, it's like, I care about them. Why? Because they can relate to them. Either because they're white, either because they're white males, either because it's, their style of dress. But people are going to relate to people that look like them. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so that's why I'm trying. You look at Eminem. I mean, to be honest with you, should he be selling the records that he sells? In my personal opinion, no. But there are people that identify with him and can identify because of whether he's white, whether he's a white male, whether he's from Detroit. People are always going to find a bias. And it's the same way in sports. You're going to find people that's going to say, I'm not attracted to the WNBA. Why? Because it's a bunch of females playing basketball, possibly. Or maybe because there's not enough dunking and stuff going on. I don't know. And then I'm pretty sure you can look vice versa. There's a lot of women. There's some women that's probably like, I don't care for the NBA, but I care for the WNBA. You're going to find that. I'm telling you, it happens. So unfortunately, everything is not equal. Everything is not on equal footing because you're always going to find somebody that says, I like this better than I like that. And some of those reasons come because of, demographics that you can relate to. And that goes for a lot of other sports as well. And you can look across that across a lot of different industries. Okay. So I just wanted to drop that in, and also drop in your comments. If you have any comments on the subject, and definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. Take care.